Beardo Benjo.
Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another brand new VR Games Roundup video. Today we're looking at March 2023 and I've just realised I'm wearing a green jumper and a green hat. I might just be a floating face for this intro, which is actually quite hilarious to me, so I'm not going to change it now. I could take the jumper off. No. I've committed to this, I'm going to stick to it. Let's see how it looks. Today we're rounding up all the new VR games that are coming out in March 2023, or more accurately, just the ones we know the release dates for. As always, many VR devs like to drop these games out at a moment's notice, so there probably will be more VR games than just these ones, but this is everything we know of right now. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you see some games that pique your interest that you might want to pick up this month. Let's have a look. First up, launching on the 1st of March, which is today, we have Presentiment of Death. Now I had to Google what presentiment means because I've never heard that word before, and it turns out it's used to describe an intuitive feeling about the future, especially one of foreboding. So it kind of makes sense that the game seems to be about a dystopian future where red-eyed robots are trying to murder you. I would definitely have a sense of foreboding about that. The game itself seems to be a mixture of super hot and In Death Unchained, with lots of slick slow motion action and archery propelling you through the campaign. If it looks like your cup of tea, then you can grab this one right now. Project Nightlight is a brand new atmospheric horror title for PCVR and it's launching on the 3rd of March. The gameplay trailer is giving me some serious SCP vibes mixed with a little bit of Black Mesa Office's aesthetic, and I'm very much into it. The trailer itself doesn't give away a huge amount about the game or the creature or creatures that are stalking you throughout this adventure. There seems to be an invisible foe near the end of the trailer, which immediately makes me think of Amnesia, but other than that short glimpse, it's all about the atmosphere, puzzle solving and exploration, with the character using bolt cutters to break locks and physically interacting with shutters, doors and the environment around them. I'm always on the lookout for new VR horror experiences and I can't wait to explore this haunting office block when it launches later this week. On the 9th of March, developer Maze Theory brings another huge IP to VR with the release of Peaky Blinders Kings Ransom, a unique standalone story set within the world and lore of the hit Peaky Blinders TV show. You can explore iconic locations like the Garrison pub, walk down the alleyways of Small Heath, come face to face with members of the Shelby family and fight alongside them as you attempt to prove your worth and join the most notorious gang in Birmingham. I went hands-on with the Quest 2 build a few months back and really enjoyed my time with the short demo. The voice acting and narrative set pieces were a real high point, and walking into these familiar locations in VR was unbelievably cool. However, at the time I did have a few slight gripes regarding the enemies all looking identical, which broke the immersion somewhat. Despite this, I still believe that Peaky Blinders Kings Ransom has all the polish and excitement required to become a hit, and I'm excited to blast through the story when this one drops. I really hope that Guardians Frontlines finds the audience it deserves when it launches on the 9th of March. This brand new VR FPS has all the ingredients to make it a massive success. With hints of Halo and Starship Troopers in its first-person shooter sections, the ability to switch to an Overlook RTS style experience akin to Command & Conquer on the fly, and finally a fully fleshed out map editor that allows you to place and resize objects with your hands. Guardians is one of the best value propositions in VR. The entire campaign can be played solo or with friends in co-op, and the game supports a suite of PvP and PvE modes that leverage the pre-built maps and user-generated levels, which will no doubt flood the game after launch. If you're a fan of giant bug blasting first-person shooters, PvP action, strategic RTS games, or just building your own levels and environments, then you need to check out Guardians Frontlines this month. It's always a good day when Walkabout Mini Golf receives a new course, and that's exactly what we're getting on March 9th. The brand new Upside Town course hasn't received a trailer yet, but I'm sure we can expect some wacky, gravity-defying fun paired with the game's trademark high quality and addictive gameplay experience. They've finally done it. I've been saying this for months, and they've finally gone and bloody done it. Population 1 is going free to play on the 9th of March. Well, the more accurate statement would be Population 1 is going free to play for Quest standalone on 9th of March. It remains $19.99 on Steam and the Oculus PC app. Apparently this disparity is to combat cheaters creating new Steam accounts every time they're banned, as they would need to purchase the game each time, whereas free-to-play means they can create endless accounts and fill the game with cheating nonsense. The logic checks out, but it is a shame that the game isn't going completely free-to-play, as this really does feel like the change that was needed to drive new players into the ecosystem. However, with the immense success of Gorilla Tag, it will be exciting to see just how many new users dive into the Quest 2 version. Once its free-to-play change is implemented, it's enough to tempt me back in anyway. I might actually be able to get some kills again. Get ready for an emotional roller coaster when Before Your Eyes launches on the PSVR 2 on the 10th of March. This game has one of the most incredible and powerful concepts I've ever heard of for a video game, and it's about to be taken to a whole new level by the eye tracking tech inside Sony's new VR headset. In the game, you play a character who has passed away. You're making your final journey to the afterlife, and you're being asked to replay your life's memories for your final judgment. The catch here is that every time you blink, the memory you were witnessing is gone. You skip forward in time to the next memory and ever closer to passing away. My eyes are going to be incredibly dry as I play this one. I might even sellotape them open to avoid blinking. I want to see just how long I can make these memories last before inevitably moving on to the next one. It's a beautiful concept paired with dreamlike visuals and a hand-painted aesthetic. This is the kind of eye-tracking application I want to see more of on PSVR 2, and hopefully on more VR headsets in general once the tech is more widely available. Next up is probably my most anticipated new VR game of March 2023, the spiritual successor to Until Dawn Rush of Blood, Switchback VR, a new VR-centric entry into the Dark Pictures anthology from Supermassive Games. This one takes you on a rollercoaster ride from hell through all of the studio's previous horror adventures within this particular series. I went hands-on with the game a few weeks back and didn't want to stop playing. I was treated to 3 of the 10 levels, and honestly I've been thinking about it ever since. The game utilises all of PSVR 2's features wonderfully, with eye tracking, adaptive triggers and haptic feedback all coming together to create a suitably spooky thrill ride, and the team have even dialed up the difficulty by including puzzles, branching pathways and characters to save or sacrifice in certain levels. If you're after a horror experience for your new PSVR 2 headset, then Switchback will provide just that. It's been a long wait for PCVR users, but the time has finally come. Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is on its way this month for PC and PSVR 2, with PSVR 2 users even getting a free upgrade on the original game if they already own it for PSVR. Now, the Quest 2 release of Chapter 2 has been out for a few months now, and I've spent plenty of time with it. Although it feels like more of a side story and not necessarily the true follow-up or sequel that I wanted, it is more of the same satisfying zombie-slaying action, chunky feeling combat, and moral dilemmas to solve that made the original so successful. However, the time has finally come for the game to release on PC platforms and PSVR 2, with a full suite of graphical upgrades and changes that have been implemented since the Quest 2's launch. For me, I think I'm most excited to see what the team have done with the PSVR 2 port. I want to feel the haptics as I rev up the chainsaw and slice my way through a horde of zombies. That's the kind of immersion that VR was made for. The dark comedy FMV adventure, Not for Broadcast, is making its way to VR devices this month and dropping players into the editor's chair as you have complete control over the narrative unfolding in front of you. Choose the camera angles, make those on screen look like the hero or the villain, bleep out the swear words, and ultimately control the course of history. It's another incredibly unique concept that feels perfectly suited to VR, physically flicking switches to change the framing, mix the audio, or cut to another camera feed. It's a live TV editor simulator with a comedic twist that feels similar to something from the Black Mirror universe. I, for one, will be filling my programming schedule with adverts. Nothing but adverts. Just back-to-back, unrelenting adverts that drive the population to the very edge of sanity. We'll finish up today's video now with a couple of possible releases that don't yet have official release dates. First up is Green Hell VR for PSVR 2. Now, this one was just confirmed at the most recent State of Play event, and it will likely end up being the best way to experience this hardcore VR survival adventure. From the trailer, it looks to be a midpoint between the Quest 2 version, which featured toned down graphics, a more linear map, and some awesome physical crafting, and the PC version, which had better visuals, a more simplistic crafting system, system and a larger map. The PSVR2 version looks like it could be landing somewhere in the middle of these two versions with a suite of new immersive haptic features. Green Hell VR is a superb VR survival experience, but it is an absolute menace when it comes to running it smoothly on PC, so it'd be great to finally get a version that runs well and looks gorgeous at the same time. I don't necessarily think Undead Citadel is coming out this month, but I do think the developers are gearing up to release it sooner rather than later, as their social media game has gone into overdrive recently, with countless gameplay clips and updates on an almost daily basis. Undead Citadel is a story-driven, physics-based VR brawler with some of the most satisfying combat I've encountered in VR to date, especially when smashing a skeleton's head clean off with a giant warhammer or chopping a zombie to pieces with a battle axe. Everything just feels so impactful, and the game runs at a much faster pace than I originally anticipated. This one has been on a lot of wish lists for a very long time, and it finally feels like the release date is getting close. And finally, let's finish on a project that has been quiet for a very long time, since its original announcement in fact, a project that was slated to release in Q1 2023 or early 2023, the full VR port for PC boomer shooter Amid Evil. This blisteringly fast FPS comes from the developers of Dusk and sets players loose across 7 locations filled with enemies to annihilate with magic-based weapons, which is honestly a welcome change from the usual shotgun, assault rifle and pistol combo of almost every other first-person shooter. If you're a fan of games like Ultra Kill, Doom, Quake or any retro-inspired FPS, then Amid Evil VR should be on your release radar. I for one am keeping my fingers crossed for release sooner rather than later, but no new information has been shared for a good few months now. I need my high-speed VR boomer shooter fix, and I need it soon. And that wraps everything up for March 2023. Let me know down in the comments below which VR games you'll be picking up this month. There are definitely a few on this list that I know I'll be grabbing. As always, keep in mind these aren't the only VR releases this month. These are just the ones we have official release dates for. VR devs do love to sneak their games out without much fanfare, so we could be seeing far more for Quest, PCVR and PSVR2 over the course of this month. I hope you've enjoyed. Please do leave a like, drop a comment and subscribe for more VR gaming content, and I'll see you soon for another one. Take care guys.